The hum of the city was muted behind the thick glass walls of my office. From where I sat, 12th floor, downtown Chicago, the skyline looked like a canvas of ambition and steel. On the polished mahogany desk in front of me, 3 watches lay under a soft spotlight, slender, intricate, gleaming with the name Harper and Lane engraved across the dial. My name. My brand. To the world, I was composed. My silk blouse fell perfectly against my shoulders, my hair swept into the kind of bun that suggested control. But inside, control was something I'd had to wrestle for, claw for, over years that had nearly broken me. The irony? My empire of timepieces began with the moment someone tried to steal time from me. My phone buzzed. The vibration cut through the stillness, like an unwelcome memory. When I saw the name flash across the screen, my breath caught. Lena. My cousin. The same Lena who once laughed at my dreams, who had slipped my only watch off my wrist like it was nothing, like I was nothing. I pressed the phone against the desk, watching the name glow. For a second, the room felt smaller, tighter, as though all the years of distance had evaporated. She was here in my city. She wanted to meet. I traced my finger along the edge of one of my newest designs, its ticking a steady, almost mocking reminder. People saw the glamour. They didn't see the sting beneath. The truth was, I had been waiting for this call, even if I would never admit it. The past was reaching out. And this time, I wasn't the girl with empty hands. I was 19 this summer. Lena took my watch. It wasn't just any watch. It was a modest, leather-banded piece my father had given me on my 16th birthday, just months before his sudden heart attack. I can still remember the weight of it on my wrist, the way the second hand ticked like it carried pieces of him forward in time with me. It wasn't about the brand or the price. It was the only part of him I could touch. That afternoon, we were in my aunt's living room in suburban Ohio, the air heavy with the scent of overcooked pot roast and the faint musk of old carpet. Lena was sprawled on the couch, her blonde hair spilling over the cushions like she owned the place. She was 2 years older, sharper in every way, her words, her clothes, her sense of entitlement. "Cute watch," she said, reaching for my wrist before I could pull back. Her fingers were cool, casual, like she was entitled to take whatever she wanted. "Please don't," I whispered, my voice already trembling. But she laughed, the kind of laugh that makes your skin crawl. "Relax, Emily. You act like you're guarding a crown jewel. It's just a cheap piece of metal." "It's not cheap," I muttered, but she didn't care. With a twist, she unbuckled it, slid it onto her own wrist, and held it up like a prize. I felt heat rise in my chest, tears threatening. That was Dad's. Her smirk faltered for only a heartbeat before she rolled her eyes. "You've got to stop clinging to the past, Em. Nobody's going to hand you anything. Not money, not success. Certainly not time." The words stung deeper than the theft. She flaunted the watch the rest of the evening, ignoring my silence. The lump lodged so firmly in my throat it hurt to swallow. Later that night, my grandmother found me sitting on the back porch, knees pulled up to my chest, cheeks damp. She placed a hand on my shoulder, warm and steady. "She'll get what's hers one day," Grandma murmured, her voice like soft velvet. "But you, Emily, you need to understand something. Time doesn't belong to those who steal it. Time belongs to those who know how to use it." I looked at her, desperate. "But I don't know how." Her lips curved into the faintest smile. "Then learn. Take every second she tried to take from you, and make it count." That night, as cicadas sang in the darkness, I made a quiet vow. If Lena believed I was nothing, then I would build myself into something she couldn't ignore, even if it meant walking away from everyone I thought I needed. Leaving home at 20 felt like stepping off a cliff without a parachute. I had nothing but 2 suitcases, a worn notebook filled with sketches of watch designs, and the faint echo of my grandmother's words rattling in my chest. I landed in Chicago because it was far enough to feel new, but close enough that I could still pretend I wasn't running away. The first few months were brutal. My apartment was a shoebox above a laundromat, with peeling paint and pipes that hissed at night. I worked double shifts at a diner, pouring coffee for strangers in the morning, and wiping down sticky counters past midnight. My hands smelled of grease and bleach. My nails broke often, and my back ached. But every spare moment I drew. I studied the curves of watch dials, the mechanics of gears, the elegance of lines. I devoured YouTube tutorials and borrowed every book the library had on design and horology. I couldn't afford proper tools, so I practiced with secondhand parts bought off eBay, piecing together watches that barely ticked but taught me patience. It was during one of those late nights at the diner that I met Margaret Lawson. She was a regular, always in a tailored suit, always with a leather portfolio in hand. One night, she noticed the grease smudges on my sketchbook. "You draw watches?" she asked, eyes narrowing with interest. Embarrassed, I tried to tuck the book away, but she gently pulled it closer. She studied the sketches like they were blueprints for a future I hadn't yet dared to believe in. "You've got an eye," she said finally. "Ever thought about making one of these real?" Her words lit a fire. Margaret turned out to be a retired marketing executive with a soft spot for underdogs. She connected me with a small workshop owner who was willing to let me learn the trade if I swept floors and polished cases in exchange. I said yes, without hesitation. The workshop smelled of oil and metal, its counters littered with tools that felt foreign in my clumsy hands. But under the guidance of a patient machinist named Carl, I learned. I cut my fingers more times than I could count, but every mistake was a lesson. The first time I held a working prototype of my own design, my heart thudded louder than its ticking. It was crude, imperfect, but mine. I cried in that workshop, silent tears slipping onto the stainless steel case. My first customer was a young lawyer who bought one of my designs off a local craft fair table. He paid me $200, more money than I thought anyone would spend on something born in my shoebox apartment. That moment felt like oxygen. More followed. Slowly. Painfully slowly. But every sale carried me further away from the girl crying on her grandmother's porch. I started Harper and Lane quietly, naming it after my grandmother's maiden name, Lane. The world didn't notice me, not yet. And my family? I kept them in the dark. On social media, I posted nothing but generic smiles and vague captions. To them, I was still struggling, maybe even failing. And maybe that was my shield. Because what they didn't know was that I was no longer surviving. I was building. The lobby doors hissed open with a soft hydraulic sigh. I stood just beyond them, waiting, my heels silent against the polished marble floor. A massive glass wall behind me reflected the golden letters stretched across it, Harper and Lane Headquarters. The logo gleamed like a crown above my head. When Lena walked in, it was like stepping back into a past life. She looked almost the same, styled hair, perfect makeup, the same confident saunter that used to make me shrink. Only now I didn't feel small. She paused, taking in the vast space. The lobby shimmered with brushed steel and warm wood, cases of watches displayed like art along the walls. My staff moved gracefully around us, dressed in tailored suits, efficient and calm. For a moment, Lena's expression flickered, but she masked it quickly. "Emily," she said, her voice lilting like she still had the upper hand. "Wow. This place is impressive." I smiled, though it didn't quite reach my eyes. "It's home," I replied softly. We walked through the hallways, her heels clicking nervously on the marble. Every wall told my story, framed press clippings, awards, magazine covers with my face beside the Harper and Lane brand. I watched her eyes dart, her smirk falter. When we entered my office, the silence settled heavy. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Chicago skyline, sunlight glinting off the river. On my desk, 3 new prototypes rested under spotlights, their ticking steady, powerful, alive. She finally broke the quiet. "So, you really made all this?" I let the question linger. Then I leaned against the desk, folding my arms. "Do you remember the summer you took my watch?" Her laugh was forced. "Oh, come on. You're not still hung up on that. It was just a silly thing. I probably don't even have it anymore." The word sliced even now, but I didn't flinch. It wasn't silly. It was the last thing Dad gave me. And you knew that. Her smile faltered. She shifted uncomfortably, but I pressed on. That watch, what you dismissed as cheap, meaningless, wasn't just a keepsake. It was the spark. It was the moment I realized if I wanted to hold on to time, to hold on to anything that mattered, I'd have to make it mine. You thought you were taking something from me, but you gave me my beginning. I stepped closer, my voice steady, almost calm. Look around, Lena. This is what I built from that moment. The watch you stole became a brand. My brand. Her mouth opened, then closed. For once, she had no quick comeback. Her eyes swept the room again, this time slower, absorbing every detail, the shelves lined with designs, the framed photos with celebrities wearing my pieces, the glass cases glowing with gold and steel. Finally, she whispered, I never thought you'd become someone? I finished for her, my tone sharp but not cruel. That was the point, wasn't it? To keep me small. To remind me where you thought I belonged. The silence stretched. I could see the flush rising in her cheeks, the shame warring with disbelief. I walked back to my desk, brushing my fingertips across one of the prototypes. Its ticking filled the room, a steady reminder that time waits for no one. I own this brand, I said simply, looking her in the eye. Every gear, every dial, every watch that carries my name, it's mine. And nothing you did could stop that. Lena sank slowly into the chair across from me, her confidence unraveling. For the first time in my life, I saw her not as the cousin who overshadowed me, but as a woman realizing she had underestimated me completely. And I wasn't done yet. Lena sat rigid in the leather chair, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles whitened. I poured 2 glasses of water from the crystal decanter on my desk, sliding one toward her. She didn't touch it. Why am I here, Emily? She finally asked, her voice carrying that old edge, though weaker now. I sank into my chair, crossing one leg over the other, my movements deliberate. Because you asked to see me, and because you wanted something. People don't show up after years of silence unless they do. Her lips pressed into a thin line. She exhaled sharply. I need help. Things haven't exactly gone my way. There it was. The admission. I watched her carefully, remembering every slight, every smirk, every word that had cut me down when I was at my most fragile. My younger self would have reveled in this moment, but the woman I had become knew power wasn't in revenge. It was in choice. What kind of help? I asked evenly. Her eyes flicked around the office again, clinging to anything but my gaze. An investment. A job. Something. I know you've done well. Better than anyone thought you would. And I thought maybe, her voice trailed off. The irony was sharp. The same cousin who once mocked me for dreaming now sat across from me, asking for a lifeline. I leaned forward, folding my hands. I could help you, Lena. But not for free. Not anymore. Her head snapped up, eyes narrowing. So, what? Strings attached. Conditions, I corrected. If you want my support, you'll have to meet them. One by one. I ticked them off slowly, like the seconds of a clock. First, you'll stop tearing other people down to feel taller. You've made a habit of belittling others, me, especially. That ends here. Her jaw tightened, but she stayed silent. Second, you'll pursue something real. Not shortcuts, not handouts. What do you love, Lena? What do you wake up thinking about? She hesitated, caught off guard. I don't know. Then figure it out. Because if I'm going to help you, it'll only be to push you towards something that's truly yours. Not mine. Not anyone else's. Her eyes softened, just slightly, as if the truth was landing in places she hadn't let herself feel before. And third, I said, my tone firmer now, you'll own the harm you've done. To me. To others. Apologies aren't weakness. They're the beginning of growth. You don't get to rewrite history, but you can change the future. Silence stretched again. The ticking of the prototype on my desk filled the air between us. Finally, she whispered, that's a lot to ask. I shrugged gently. Then walk away. No one's forcing you. But if you want my hand, those are the terms. Her gaze locked onto mine, And for the first time since we were children, there was no mockery in her eyes. Just uncertainty. Fear. Maybe even a flicker of respect. I leaned back, letting the quiet settle. The difference between us, Lena, is that I know the value of time. I won't waste mine if you're not serious. Her shoulders sagged, and she nodded, almost imperceptibly. I'll try, she murmured. That was all I needed to hear. For now. Weeks passed before I heard from Lena again. I didn't expect much, if I'm honest. But then one morning, as I walked through the lobby, I spotted her seated on one of the leather benches, a notebook in her lap. No designer clothes, no smirk, just a woman with tired eyes and a pen moving furiously across the page. She looked up, almost startled to see me. I've been writing, she said quickly, almost defensively. Stories. I used to when I was younger, before everything. There was vulnerability in her voice I had never heard before. And for the first time, I didn't see the cousin who had stolen from me. I saw a woman trying, fumbling, beginning again. Change doesn't happen in grand gestures. It happens in the small, quiet moments. A phone call where she apologized, not perfectly, not fluently, but sincerely. A day when she volunteered at a local youth program, helping kids who reminded her of us at that age. I didn't hand her success, but I gave her a mirror. The rest was hers to face. And as she changed, so did I. Some nights, after the city fell quiet, I would sit alone in my office and take out the object that started it all. My father's watch. The one Lena had stolen, that had eventually found its way back to me years later, scratched, worn, but still ticking. I kept it in a velvet-lined drawer, not as a wound, but as a reminder. I would hold it in my palm, listening to its faint, stubborn heartbeat. My grandmother's words would come back to me, as vivid as the night she spoke them. Time doesn't belong to those who steal it. Time belongs to those who know how to use it. She was right. Lena thought she had taken my time, but she had only lit the fire I needed to claim it. Now, when I stood on stages unveiling new collections, when I saw my brand gleaming on billboards in Times Square, when I signed contracts that sealed my place in the world, I knew. Every triumph, every tick of every watch with my name on it, was proof that no one could decide my worth but me. As for Lena, her journey was hers alone. But mine was carved out of pain, persistence, and a single stolen moment. I placed the watch back in its drawer, shut it gently, and looked out at the glittering skyline. The city pulsed with possibility, and for the first time, I felt complete peace. I smiled, whispering the words that had become my truth. They once stole my time, now I own it.